Alright, final part. Revised cantrips. Spell updates. Alright, so let's just go through this. Acid Splash now creates a 5-foot radius sphere that can affect any creature caught in it, and it's an evocation instead of a conjuration spell. Blade Ward is now a reaction that imposes disadvantage on a creature's melee attack roll. Hey! Blade Ward might be pretty good. Chill Touch, now a touch spell that deals 1d10 damage rather than 1d8. No longer has the rarely used undead specific effect. Friends now forces the target to make a save against being charmed briefly. Okay. Poison Spray now has a range of 30 feet rather than 10 feet and uses an attack roll. I'm gonna be honest, I actually liked Poison Spray the way that it was. Produce Flame is now a bonus action, but the attack portion is still an action. Range of the light is increased to 20 feet. Okay. Okay. Shillalala. Now improves at higher levels. Nice. We buffed it. Shocking Grasp now shuts down opportunity attacks rather than all reactions. Shutting down all reactions is too powerful for a cantrip. Cantrip has always been meant to provide a partial disengage, which it still does in this version. Like other lightning spells, the spell also no longer makes distinctions about whether the target is wearing metal. Damn it, Shocking Grasp was so good. But I get why they changed it. Spare the Dying, now a ranged attack rather than a touch spell, and the range increases as you level up. The spell is now also on the Druid list. Nice. True Strike is now an attack with a weapon that uses your spellcasting ability rather than strength or dex. Oh. Oh. Ooh, that's good for Bladesingers. That's good for Bladesingers. Ooh. Ooh. Honestly, you'd probably still go dex on a Bladesinger, but ooh. Anyway. Alright, let's have a look. Acid Splash. Create an acidic bubble and hurl it at a point within range, where it explodes in a 5-foot radius sphere. Each creature in that sphere must succeed on a dex save or take a d6 acid damage. So I'm gonna quickly open up the Cantrips. There you go. So it used to be choose one creature within range or two creatures within range that are 5 feet away from each other. Yeah, okay, this is easier. Okay, so this is a good change. Blade Ward, which I seem to remember used to give resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing for a round, right? Yes. Dealt by weapon attacks, which is hilarious. Reaction which you take in response to a visible creature attacking you with a melee attack. Imposing disadvantage on the creature's attack roll. Does this make Blade Ward playable? It's a decent defensive cantrip. I just wonder... I think it's good on stuff like Bladesinger again. Ironically enough. Because the annoying part, of course, is it doesn't work on ranged attacks, and it doesn't work on spell attacks, right? Oh no, it's a melee attack. It doesn't say melee weapon attack. Okay, so no, so it doesn't work on ranged attacks, which means it's still relatively limited in its use. Then again, it's a cantrip. It's supposed to be. I think this is playable, sure. I think if you have a spot open, why the hell not? To be fair, how often are you gonna have a spot open? Who can cast this? Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. I think like Sorcerer could have a spot open, right? They start out, I think, with 4 cantrips, so. Chill Touch. I don't remember. Is Chill Touch the hand that, like... So now it's you channel the Chill of the Grave towards one creature you try to touch. Make a melee spell against the target. Also, technically, you'd be able to, for example, Blade Ward's Chill Touch. That's funny. Yeah, because Chill Touch used to be a ranged spell attack, and it used to be a D8 necrotic damage. Can't regain hit points until the end of your next turn. Used to be until the start of your next turn, so interesting little change there. And then the undead part was removed. Also, but now it's touch, so you do have to be in melee with them, where it used to be 120 feet and a ghostly skeletal hand appeared next to them. Because we actually last week actually had a debate about this, whether or not you have to see the target for chill touch. I still think you do, but apparently that's a debate, so oh well. Friends! Best cantrip in Baldur's Gate. No, in the thing. Friends, where's Friends? Is Friends not in the original? No. Oh, there it is. I'm blind. God. Magically emanate a sense of friendship towards one visible creature within range, 10 feet. The target must be 6. Wait, one of the components is makeup? Ah! So wait, this is literally just like, you're standing there, you're like talking to them, you open up a mirror, take like a thingy and like, so, dearie. That's literally what that cantrip is? That's hilarious. I never knew that. I love that. Target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the charmed condition for the duration. Succeed automatically if it is in the humanoid, if you're fighting it, or if you have a spell, or if you have cast a spell on it within the past 24 hours. Spell ends early if the target takes damage, or if you make an attack roll, deal damage, or for anyone to make a saving throw. Okay, so it no longer just gives advantage, but it also, for some weird reason, it does not turn them hostile anymore, which, that's interesting, but it also doesn't really have, well, to be fair, did anyone really use Friends? Did anyone ever use Friends? Like, in Baldur's Gate, it's apparently pretty good. I haven't really wanted to use it yet, because apparently there's a chance of it screwing up. Like that feels kind of weird. Oh. No, it's good. It's okay. You have to do it before combat. It's a cantrip that you can't use in combat because if you're fighting it, they automatically succeed. Also doesn't work on non-humanoids. You can't use it to like talk to a beast or an aberration or whatever. Yeah, sure. Poison spray. I think this is the one that I don't like personally. I don't, yeah. You launch your mist of toxic energy at a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d12 poison damage. So I'm going to say why I liked Poison Spray as a cantrip, even if it is a cantrip that I've very rarely ever picked up myself, because I've always felt like I had better options. The biggest reason that I liked Poison Spray in its previous form, which was 10 feet, but they had to make a con save, or take 1d12, was because it was a con save against the d12. A lot of creatures have constitution to a certain degree. The big one was the fact of this was sort of, to me, at least until Toll the Dead came out, because I will say I think you probably picked Toll the Dead over this. The fun thing about Poison Spray was like the idea that a creature that would come close to you, if you were forced into this position, you could just poison spray them. Because it was a close spell, it was like a close range spell, or a close range cantrip, which Wizard was very much lacking. Now Poison Spray isn't a close range spell anymore, because now you have to make a ranged spell attack rather than them making a concentration, which means once you're in melee, you have disadvantage on this cantrip. So I'm gonna be honest, for me, Poison Spray, I would have preferred them to keep that one. The old way. Personally. Produce Flame. I actually do want to know what happened to this one. Because I'm... So it used to be... it's an action to cast. Remains there for the duration of harms neither you nor your equipment. Spell ends if you dismiss it in action or if you cast it again. Can also attack with the flame. Although doing so ends the spell. You cast the spell as an action. Oh, it used to be... Oh, right. So it used to be as an action you create it and you can immediately throw it, or you can throw it later as an action. Whereas now it's a bonus action to cast and an action to throw it. Okay, sure. Okay, that makes sense. Shalele. Shalala, as I call it. Club or quarterstaff you are holding, which here's your material components, is imbued with nature's power. For the duration, you can use your spellcasting ability instead. Strength for the attack and damage rolls of the melee attacks using the weapon. Weapon's damage die becomes a d8. If the attack deals damage, it can be force damage or the weapon's normal damage type. Alright, so originally it was a d8. And then it becomes a d10, a d12, and 2 d6s. I think that's a step in the good direction. Yeah, I don't think this needs to be 1d10, 2d10, 1d8, 2d8, 3d8, 4d8. I think this is fine. If I'm being honest. Because here we're talking about like although, no, because I'm not comparing it, because technically you'd use this against some, like you compare this with something like a booming blade, right? Although this is, to be fair, like a duration of a minute. You'd still have to do your attacks with this. The booming blade you're constantly casting, whereas here you're casting it once, but that doesn't really matter. Because you still have to use your action to make the attack. So I think this is actually worse than Booming Blade and Green Flame. So I don't really get why it doesn't scale like that. Why it doesn't scale like the others. I'm not saying it should, but yeah. This might... It's better. It's a buff to Shillelagh, which I do think was pretty necessary. Because it's a cool spell, but not very powerful. But I think they can go a little further with it, to be honest. So Shocking Grasp, we pretty much know what changes here, right? So melee spell attack, 1d8 lightning damage, can't make opportunity attacks, used to get rid of its reaction. And used to have advantage if you attacked a creature with metal. Which, to be fair, I will be honest, I actually like the fact that they got rid of that. Because, first of all, it always reminded me of heat metal, which is literally the point of the spell. And second of all, it just, I don't know, it felt very random, especially knowing that you have stuff like Lightning Lure, which doesn't get it. It's literally the only lightning spell that gets advantage from the target wearing metal, so... I think this is a good change. I think this is good. I feel like Shocking Grasp was actually like a really good spell. Also, one of the reasons I didn't use to pick Poison Spray. I feel like Shocking Grasp was better than Poison Spray in a lot of cases. Spare the Dying. Did this used to be touch range? Yeah, it used to be touch range. Now it's 0 hit points yet still alive because they're stable. Starts at 15 feet, becomes 30, 60, 120. Good change. I'm very happy with this. I think this was long overdue. Spare the Dying is already an unused cantrip because you usually just healing word something, because at least then they get a turn. Now at least you don't have to also be literally right next to the target in order to save them. You're still going to use healing word over this, even at 5th level, because I think they're the same range, but healing word might even be 60. Wait, actually, I have all the spells here. Might as well look it up, right? Healing word 60. Yeah, so healing word is still better, but at least now you don't have to be right next to the target if you run out of spell slots, or if you want to keep your spell slots or whatever. Or if you purely have this cantrip through some sort of feature. Yeah, I think this is a very welcoming, good change. And then True Strike, guided by a flash of magical insight. So, yeah, you make one attack with the weapon using the spell's casting. Weapon with which you have proficiency. Attack uses your spellcasting ability for the attack and damage rolls instead of using strength or dex. If the attack deals damage, it can be radiant damage or the weapon's normal damage type. Whether you choose to deal radiant damage or the weapon's normal damage type, the attack deals extra radiant damage when you... Oh shit! Wait, what? Huh. 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 That's pretty good. It even upgrades? I did not expect that. I thought this was just going to be like, oh, you can make these attacks, but... Ow. Sorry. Huh. Does that mean you really don't need to multi-class into, It feels like this means that you just pick True Strike over Booming Blade, right? Because you can make the argument of like, nah, Booming Blade does more damage, but... And forces them to stay put or take damage. I guess it depends on whether or not you're dex/strength focused, or if you're spellcasting ability focused. I'm not going to say that this is going to replace Booming Blade just purely off of the fact that Booming Blade deals a lot more damage and forces a target to stand still, right? Other than that, I do think True Strike has a place in the game now. Whereas it didn't used to, right? It used to be you use an action to give yourself advantage. So pretty much you're making an attack with advantage the turn after if you don't lose your concentration by that point. And even if you don't lose your concentration, technically what you could have just done is make one attack, make two attack. And you would have had two rolls with possibly hitting them both and dealing double the damage. So True Strike was just a waste of a cantrip, and now at least it has a use.